Hi, I'm Zack.
I'm Zubeyir.
Welcome to our conversation over tea. Today we're going to be talking about the 33rd word, the 33rd windows of the 33rd word in the Risale-i Nur Collection by Said Nursi.
Yes, our conversation, our lecture is going to be about 30 to 40 minutes at most.
So we hope that you enjoy it.
Well, let's begin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The 33rd word. We have both the original Turkish version and the English version for our convenience, so we can make some references or make citation if necessary. This word consists of 33 windows. While being the 33rd letter, this is also the 33rd word. I'm going to read the original Arabic verse from the original version. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم حتى يتبين لهم أنه الحق ولم يكفي بربك أنه على كل شيء شهيد.
And I'll read the English.
Okay.
In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, we shall show them our signs in the furthest horizons and in themselves, so that it will become clear to them that this Quran is indeed the truth. Is it not enough that your sustainer witnesses all things? And for those who would like to reference this ayat, it is in the Quran, chapter 41, verse 53.
Wow.
Now for the actual discussion, we will read paragraph by paragraph or so and discuss when we feel that we have questions or that it is a point that deserves comment.
Yeah.
So, question. We would like a concise explanation of the ways man and the universe, that is, the microcosm and the macrocosm, point to the necessary existence and unity of God and His dominical attributes and functions, which the two parts of the above verse denote. For the unbelievers have gone too far. They are saying, "For how long shall we say, and He is powerful over all things," and have to raise our hands. This is the question.
Yep.
Do you notice anything particularly interesting?
Well, we started with the man and the universe.
Mm-hmm.
That is the interesting part for me. The microcosm and the microcosm.
Mm-hmm.
So we are, in a way, comparing the little things, the tiniest, minute thing,
Mm-hmm.
to the hugest thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it somehow tells me that there is a comparison, there is a relation between those.
Yes. I thought the same thing too, that both the man and the universe themselves are comparable things.
Yep.
They are things that are not different from one or the other, but they are put in the same position to be compared. That one is the small and one is the big.
And starting from this point, we are going to make an explanation. The text is going to make an explanation for both the man and the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to somehow understand what the man and the universe stand for.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right?
Yes. And by doing that, we get to understand the oneness, the necessary existence and unity of God and His dominical attributes and functions.
Yep.
So by this comparison, by understanding their nature
Mm-hmm.
as much as possible,
The minute and the hugest things.
we will be able to understand the necessary existence and the unity of God.
Yeah.
So that's what we will be dealing with in this discussion and probably through the future discussions too, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
Shall we go on with the answer?
Yes.
Or would you like to add anything more?
I have a question actually before we go on. The last sentence, for the unbelievers have gone too far, they are saying, "For how long shall we say, and He is powerful over all things," and have to raise our hands.
Yeah.
The word unbelievers, I think if you look in the Turkish, I think it's the munkir
Yeah.
is used there, which is more of a denier.
Denier.
Not necessarily
Unbeliever
itself, but one who denies this. But I think we need to point this towards ourselves because the ayat is, as this is an explanation of the verse that we read, that each one of us has a little bit of denial in us. And so we shouldn't push it out on they are the deniers and we are the non-deniers. But that there is denial in us and we are addressing ourselves.
So we should read the text, the answers to ourselves too.
Yes.
You mean?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And I think also in putting the comparison here between the two, the microcosm and the macrocosm, the small universe and the big universe, I think the Arabic word was alam, which was used there for the human and the universe. That in doing that, we actually are going to say, we can actually say that any denial we see outside is a reflection of the denial we have in us.
You mean in the world or?
Since they are comparison of themselves, they're in a way reflections of each other. So that if I notice denial outside and it's bothering me, that's a reflection of denial that I have inside me that I need to take care of and I need to address and resolve.
Okay.
So it's not a way to judge other people outside. You're a denier, and I'm not. But the denial I see is that's a problem for me inside my life.
It must be an indication to notice that I could have a denial in my heart.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good point.
Okay. So now let's move on to the answer.
Okay.
The 33 words have been written from 33 drops from the ocean of this verse and from the seas of truth which flow from it. If you look at them, you will find your answer. What we say now is only a sort of hint to the sprinkling of a single drop from the ocean. For example, if a wonder worker wants to build a splendid palace, he first of all sets the foundations in a wise and regular fashion and plans them in a way suitable to their future purpose and results. Then he skillfully divides them into sections and apartments. Next, he orders and arranges the apartments and decorates them with tapestries, then illuminates them with electric lights.
We are talking about the palace, right?
Yes, the palace.
Okay.
Then, in order to renew his ingenious works and favors in that magnificent and adorned palace, he makes fresh creations and new changes and transformations in every level of it. And then he installs a telephone in every apartment connected to his own abode and opens up a window from each so that his may be seen. I think that's a good stopping point.
Well, maybe.
So I think the first paragraph is just an explanation of what this part is that this is a collection or maybe an index of the previous words together in a very short form.
Yeah.
So I think the first paragraph is clear, at least was clear for me. How about for you?
Well, fine.
Okay. With the next paragraph, I like the comparison of the palace. I know in another place, Said Nursi does compare humans to a palace. And so we can't just say, yes, we can consider the microcosm, the human, and the macrocosm, the universe, to both be palaces.
Well, yeah.
And so just as the example that
They resemble the same.
Yes.
More or less.
Yes, exactly. And so they are patterns of each other, perhaps. And so what we see in creation, we see in ourselves, and we can see in every aspect of creation.
Yes.
So this palace example is not just one thing, it's an example that we can use, or a sample that we can use for everything to understand the universe and ourselves.
With the micro and the micro
Yes.
cosmos.
Exactly. Okay. So, I think it'd be good to ask, did you understand the answer that we got to so far?
Well, we haven't got into the answer yet, I guess.
Okay. Then, I think this just shows that there is a plan and that this was all planned before, just like when one makes a palace. I mean, if we take the example of a real palace outside, or any building nowadays that we make, it starts with a plan.
Well, yeah.
And so that the plan itself is at the base before you even start building?
Well, it has to be, it has to exist just before everything. Everything has to be done or manufactured or installed or whatever.
Yes. So the first step is the plan, and that precludes everything else.
Yes.
Okay. So I think we can see this both in humanity and in the universe.
Just as you said, they are the little thing and the big thing.
Yes.
The microcosm and the microcosm.
Yes.
The microcosm and the microcosm.
Exactly. So just as a palace itself has, or a building itself has a blueprint that we use before we make it, when we look at humans, they go through certain steps of their life with the end result in mind. The end result is always in the mind at the very beginning, both for a building and with a human.
Okay. Maybe we should read on, just a bit, because I have some other thoughts about what you said.
Okay, then let's continue reading, and then we will.
The thing that got my interest is the sentence that begins with "then." In order to renew his ingenious works and favors, in that magnificent and adorned palace, he makes fresh creations and new changes and transformations in every level of it. And then he installed blah blah. So there is a continuous renewal, refreshment, or whatever you call it.
Yes.
Even after the plan. So the plan also includes that.
Yes, yes. The change itself is part of the plan.
Yeah, it's not common. It's not random.
Yeah.
Every change probably has a place in the plan just before.
I mean, if you want, before we continue, we could talk about these steps, these different steps to get up to that before we see the changes in the human. If you want, I think that I would like to do that. It's an interesting point that I was thinking about too while we were reading. That when we look at a human, before he has any consciousness, we see that he's being developed. His foundations are being set, his physical foundations, in the womb of a
baby.
Mother. Even before being born.
Yep.
So in the womb of the mother, the foundations are being formed, and with the end result in mind. So the arm will do something.
I totally agree with that, but I think that sentences refer more than that. What I mean, if you are planning the baby in the womb of the mother, I think it's too late. So the planning of the whole creation must have happened just before, way too before the whole creation takes place.
Yes.
Even thinking about considering the relation between the baby in the womb and the whole the universe, this plan has to be made just before, way too before the whole creation of the whole universe takes place.
Yes.
You got my point?
Yes. I think that's looking more towards the macrocosm.
Well, yeah.
Which the human is a part of. So we can. So this. So yes, if the human, as in that sense, the human is the part of it. But if we focus just on one aspect, the human, then
and the small plan of the human.
Yes. Okay. So we can understand the macro plan, the big plan too, because all of these are examples within one another. So to understand the big, we only actually have to focus on us ourselves.
Okay.
It's difficult to look at the entire universe. We weren't there in the past to recognize the creation, to witness the creation of the universe.
So they are examples of each other.
Yes, so if we just look at ourselves,
consider the planning, we might understand the biggest plan.
Exactly, and
that
every other
covered the whole creation.
And every other thing's plan, because they are both mirrors of each other and of everything else.
Exactly. So basically, we could say every creation that we see, either little or the biggest one, are examples in different levels to understand what about the creation, the whole creation, and they are all clues for us
Yes.
to understand better.
Yes. So if we want to understand, first if we want to understand even the macrocosm, we only have to understand ourselves.
The
But
microcosm.
Yes, ourselves the microcosm. But that's not the point, which is, we have to remember that's not the point of this question. Our goal is not to understand the macrocosm itself, but by comparing the two to get to the unity or the necessary existence of God and the unity.
It's just, they are just the mean of it.
Yes. So we don't want to stop just by saying, I understand myself, I'll understand everything else in creation. Yes, it's true.
But just a step.
But our goal, the actual focus, is to understand why God's existence is necessary. And then, as the question goes on, His unity and His dominical attributes and functions. So that's always the goal that we need to keep in mind. So if we want to understand God, we only have to understand ourselves.
Great.
Okay.
Let's read on.
Okay. Let's continue reading. I think that's good.
I think the same.
Okay. In just the same way, and God's is the highest similitude, Quran, chapter 16, verse 60, if you can read the Arabic.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى.
Okay. In just the same way, and God's is the highest similitude, the peerless Creator, who is named with 1,001 sacred names, such as all glorious Maker, all wise Sovereign, all just Arbiter. I'll start from the beginning. This is a long sentence. The peerless Creator, who is named with 1,001 The peerless Creator, who is named with 1,001 sacred names, such as all glorious Maker, all wise Sovereign, and all just Arbiter. This one willed the creation of the palace of the universe and trees of the cosmos, which forms the macrocosm.
He willed so.
He willed it.
He willed,
He willed that this be. He set the
We are talking about the macrocosm.
Yes.
Okay.
Before it was built, it was willed. I think that looks towards the blueprint, which is before time and everything else. This is a before time and space thing, because the macrocosm itself is time and space.
Maybe we should emphasize this. Even before the time and space, He willed, so He planned everything.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So if we want to give an example on that real quickly, time only manifests with space. With movement in space. So if there is no space, there's no time. So just to understand that concept of the timelessness of God, that He is before time, if that makes any sense. I mean, for lack of better words.
Well, out of time.
Time doesn't apply to Him. Why? Because He's not within the space either. So, okay. I'll continue the reading. He set the foundations, and I think this is now pointing towards the physical creation itself once the blueprint is done. So He set the foundations of the palace, the tree, in 6 days through the principles of wisdom and laws of His pre-eternal knowledge. Then He divided and formed it into the higher and lower levels and branches through the principles of divine determining and decree. Next, He adorned everything, each world, in an appropriate manner, like the heavens with the stars and the earth with the flowers. Then He manifested and made luminous His names within the arena of those universal laws and general principles, and then, in a special way, sent to the assistance of individuals crying out at the constraint of those universal laws His names of most merciful, 1, and all compassionate, 2. That is to say, within those universal and general principles, He has special favors, special succor, help, special manifestations, so that everything may seek help from Him and look to Him at all times for every need. Then, from every apartment, every entry, every world, every realm of being, every individual, from everything, He opened up windows which would show Himself, that is, make known his existence and unity, he left a telephone in every heart. It's a long paragraph.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot to talk about.
Agreed.
Anything in your mind?
Well, I guess it's a really deep, it has a really deep meaning.
Yes. Can we focus on the word day for a second?
Day.
Day. In 6 days.
Yeah, in 6 days. He set the foundation of the palace in the tree in 6 days.
Yes.
Through the principles of wisdom and laws and
Yes.
so on.
I think we can understand days in a figurative meaning.
Hmm.
Days shouldn't necessarily...
24 hours.
Yes. It can represent 24 hours. I don't deny that understanding. But 24 hours only makes sense while we're on this planet.
For example.
So if we're on Jupiter, a day is not 24 hours.
Certainly.
So I think we can understand the word day as being a period. What that period is, it's undefined to us, but we can understand that it's done in periods. And we can see in that reflection in our lives the 6 different periods, and he goes on to describe the periods later.
Mm-hmm.
Did it happen in 24 hours? I don't know if it's any of our real concern. I don't think that's the main idea. I don't think we should get stuck on that idea, at least.
Well, yeah.
Okay? So in 6 days...
We are not going to time him up.
Just, yes. So, he set the foundations of the palace. The tree, he gives the example of a tree.
Mm-hmm.
In 6 days...
The seeds.
Mhm.
The tree contains the seeds,
Mhm.
the body,
Mhm.
and the fruits.
Yes. So
Okay.
and inside the seed is the entire tree.
Yeah, again.
Yes. And so that's why I think when we're talking about it's an example of itself,
Mhm.
inside of an example, a seed itself is an example of a tree and of also a seed, which is again another example. So he set these the foundations of the palace, the tree, in 6 days through the principles of wisdom and laws of his pre-eternal knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Pre-eternal knowledge.
Azal.
Yeah, azal.
Yes. So
It's an Arabic word. It's not, well, maybe we should explain about it.
Yeah.
At least a little bit. It's not the before of the before, right?
Yes. It's not within time.
Well, exactly. It's not within time. It's not on the time scale.
Yes.
So where it is?
It's always, and it is.
So it covers every minute of the time.
Yes. It's an interesting one. I think we can, this is also understood in the Bible. I am. Timeless.
So azal?
Has nothing to do with time.
Yeah.
This looks towards the blueprint before the space comes into place and time being a manifestation of space.
So he created the time and space.
Yes, exactly.
So it couldn't be before it.
Exactly.
Got you.
Perhaps looking at all of it at one time.
Well, yeah. We
So-
are going to talk about this maybe later on.
Yes, but yes. Okay.
What I meant was referring to some names and the attributes of God. So we are going to talk about it later.
Yes. Okay. So then he divided and formed it into the higher and lower levels and branches through the principles of divine determining and decree.
Well, yeah.
Anything?
If you want to say anything.
There's a lot to say, but I think
Yeah.
we can stop for now, or we can keep going for now.
Keep going for now, yeah.
Okay. Next, he adorned everything, each world, in an appropriate manner. Like the heavens.
Each world.
Yes, each world.
Interesting. Like the heavens with the stars and the earth with flowers.
Yes. Now,
So the world here does not mean the earth.
yes.
Does not necessarily mean the earth.
Yes.
It refers even the sky, right? It says right here, heaven, he adorned, I'm just reading by skipping. He adorned the heavens with the stars, just like that. He adorned the earth with flowers.
Yes.
He adorned you with eyes, for
Exactly.
example, with your face.
And you with yours.
And you, yeah.
And you with yours. To our listeners.
Well, yeah.
So,
Everyone has their decorations
yes.
with physical, psychological, and so on.
Yes.
Spiritual, yeah,
These are all things that exist.
exists.
And we do witness.
So, what we understand, he adorned everything, each world, in an appropriate manner.
But real quickly, we're skipping into the next sentence too. The physical things are going to point to and be used in an appropriate manner for the spiritual and psychological. So first, the physical needs to exist,
Yeah.
but that physical is made with the spiritual manifestation in mind.
Yeah, sure.
So just like a baby in his mother's womb has an arm, it's being built, but it has no function inside the mother's womb. It will be used for something later.
Yes. So just as this, please continue the example.
So for example, my also human abilities of thought,
Imagination.
all of these are going to be used for something else.
If I cannot use them in this world in the appropriate level, appropriate manner, or to the boundaries, I know that my imagination is somehow limited here. I cannot go full of it.
I can use it to its full capacity.
So, you say, there must be some way, some other place to use them
Yes.
in the full capacity.
Yes, just like a baby in the mother's womb.
Yeah.
So it exists. I know, there's, as they say, humans only use 10% of their brain?
Wow, maybe less,
Or yes, yeah. But just like a baby in the womb doesn't use his arms,
for example.
there is a place.
And it's an indication of the other place that this arm could be used.
Yes, exactly.
Just like the imagination and so on.
Exactly. So if it exists now,
And there are some other faculties that we could use an example or indication that there is some other world, some other place that we could use those abilities, faculties with full capacity.
yes, exactly. Very good. Yes. So, but also in the existence of a child too, a child before his thoughts are developed, his ability to understand that he exists as a separate entity and not just, that's another thing that happens. We can see this both in the human development too. I'm looking at my son. I have a 17, 18-month-old son, and he doesn't recognize that he has certain
separate.
yes, a separate I-ness and the ego in and of itself, I think. So he exists. He has the physical things that are preparing himself that show that he is a separate entity, but he doesn't necessarily understand it. He doesn't think about it yet. But the physical thing is being prepared for him to realize that when he reflects on himself later.
Yeah.
Okay?
So it's a process.
Yes.
It says in here, then he divided and formed it, the palace. He divided and formed it into the higher and lower levels and branches through the principles of divine determining and decree. So it's everything has been planned.
Yes.
With levels, with some ongoing procedures and so on. Okay.
So let's continue then. Then he manifested, this is pointed to what we were talking about, this sentence. Then he manifested and made luminous his names within the area of those universal laws and general principles. This is when I think humans become at the age where they can understand their I-ness, ego in a sense. And then they can, at that level, they get to understand the different attributes of God by comparing it with themselves. Okay? And then in a special way, sent to the assistance of individuals crying out at the constraint of those universal laws, his names of most merciful and most compassionate. I think this is Al-Rahman and Al-Rahim.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Most merciful and all compassionate.
So then in a special way, he sent to the assistance of individuals crying out at the constraint of those universal laws. I think, like you said, we are limited. We can't exercise our full capacity that we might want to.
How do we understand the crying out with the universal laws? Maybe we should focus on the universal laws at first.
Okay.
What are those? Because, well, I'm going to reread the sentence. Then he manifested and made luminous his names.
Okay.
We are going to see his names, the God's names, within the arena of those universal laws and general principles. For example, gravity.
We didn't recognize that they're his yet. But we recognize the names, but not that they are his names.
And the next sentence is going to change the thing a bit. Whatever we see all around, as we name them, the universal laws and general principles, are his names and manifestations. He manifested and made luminous his names as universal laws and general principles. The next sentence I'm coming to. Are we crying out from those because at the constraint of the, and then in a special way sent to the assistance of individuals, crying out at the constraint of those universal laws, his names of most merciful and most compassionate? I'm going to refer to the original one while you continue.
Okay, well, we can also look at our emotions as a part of that too. Our love for our loved ones, our family, our children, our parents, all of our loved ones, anybody. We recognize love, that it exists.
For example, yeah.
But the limit itself is I can't always love infinitely. I want to. I want to love forever.
You are referring to the universal law that everything has an end.
Yes.
For example.
Yes. And
if I love it, or him or her, he or she or it also has an end.
Yes.
It hurts.
Yes, that's our cry.
That's our cry, yeah.
We want to love, but we...
endlessly.
Yes, but we realize that there's an end, and so we keep ourselves from truly loving because we don't want to feel that pain of losing what we love.
Maybe I'm stuck to the point. Can we say that all universal laws and general principles make us cry?
All limits make us cry.
All limits make us cry.
Because, as it says here, crying out at the constraint of those universal laws.
It says in Arabic, tazyik. Kind of, you can understand it as the constraints. The general laws and general rules and the universal laws keeps you doing whatever you freely want to. For example, you want to fly. You cannot. You want to love your properties. You want to own your properties endlessly and without any harm and any distraction. But that doesn't happen.
Yes.
You want to be successful in everything.
Yes.
But that cannot happen too. So these constraints of the general laws, general rules and the universal laws makes you cry. Yes. So I could partially understand, I guess.
Okay.
So then, maybe this is the shocking part. In a special way, he sent to the assistance of the individuals crying out at the constraint of those universal laws, his names of most merciful and all compassionate.
Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim.
So, let's make an example.
So we recognize all the other names, but then the most merciful and the compassionate is the key.
To the crying, to the constraints. Shall I suggest something?
Okay.
Let's go a step back. Let's go a step back to see the big picture.
Okay.
He set up a blueprint, a big plan to create the whole time and space. Within that, a big palace, we call it as the universe, as we know. And within that universe, it set a lot of universal laws and general principles. He's applying them all the time. And they are, in some meaning, they are some constraints to us. And we are crying out because we are constrained by those. So you say, as you just started to say, at least, when at the point we understand all those general rules and the universal laws are the manifestations of his names, so we say, he's trying to tell us, teach us his names and the attributes. So this is an examination field. I'm referring to some other text now.
Okay.
This is an examination field, training field.
Yes. For us.
For us. So, I'm constrained, I'm aware of this, but it's on purpose. So, what should I do? There is someone who set all those universal laws and general principles applying to me. So, he's trying to drive me to some point.
Okay.
So, if I apply to his names, for example, if I ask him simply, just set me free, for example.
Okay.
So I might success, for example, I might achieve what I wanted to.
Okay.
Agreed?
I didn't quite understand by how asking for that name.
For example, I want to be free. I want to possess something endlessly.
Okay. You want to love somebody and...
For example,
okay.
I have a daughter too, and I want to have her always.
Forever.
Forever, yeah. Forever in that shape. Or, well, you got the idea.
Yes.
I'm crying out for that.
Yes.
If I cry out to my daughter, it doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
She cannot give me that.
Yes. Neither can your wife.
Neither can my wife, neither the whole universe.
Yes.
So I want to cry out to him in a way that he could accept. And this text suggests that he sends his the most merciful and all compassionate names to me, so I could call them.
So you cry out to those names,
yeah,
to get to love your daughter forever.
For example.
Okay.
Maybe just a question. Maybe we should discuss about this later on. Can we see the manifestations or clues that those names exist in this universe? I suggest so. Yes, we can see. But we are going to talk about this later on, I guess.
Yes, I think so, because we're slowly running out of time.
Okay.
So let's keep going. We'll find a good point to wrap up.
Okay.
And then we can continue, I think, later. So let's continue this. So that is to say, within those universal and general principles, he has special favors, special secure. This is going to talk about your question. I think this is actually a good stopping point here, if you think so.
Well, fine.
Because if we keep going on, I think we'll have a lot more to talk about.
Okay. So. We may continue where we left next time.
Yes. So if you would like to finish it, brother.
Well, by the way, we have read the Risale-i Nur Collection of Bediüzzaman Said Nursi's work. You can Google it to find the original version and the translated versions too. So we are finishing this time. Yes. For this session. Just to remind, it is the 33 word, word of the book, The Words. If you have the physical text, it's page 683. It's the last part of the book itself. So you can find it either online or through the physical book itself. Okay. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. This is an Arabic word to conclude the lecture that we have read, and inshallah we are going to talk about this later on. Hope you enjoyed our conversation. See you next time. Yes. Thank you very much.